What's up, listeners? Welcome to episode 173 of Random Encounter. I've got some quick news for you, and then we're going to jump right into the episode proper. So, first of all, let's look over at the features department, which, as always, has Tina Ola contributing with Crowdfunding Chronicles. Tina started shaking up the format of Crowdfunding Chronicles, truncating it down just so we don't get into content fatigue. This time around, she's focusing on Other Her Loving Embrace, which is a beautiful-looking 8-bit homage kind of game. And, yeah, it's just incredible looking. The campaign wraps up on November 1st. Go check it out. If you haven't, contribute to it. Get in on that at the ground floor because that game looks stunning. Over in the reviews department, it's busy as per usual. Zach Wilkerson was all over the Alliance Alive HD Remastered and seems like it's holding up with this new upgrade that is much welcomed. The Surge 2 from Deck 13 Interactive came out back on the 24th of September, and I remember had a good look at it at E3, and Joe Chop was playing it for us for review, and overall seems to be a pretty swell game, if it does struggle a little bit, but I'm always down for some more sci-fi RPGs, so this might be a good hit for me. Destiny Connect TikTok Travelers. Alana Heggs was on top of that one for us. This looked really promising, especially coming from my perspective as a parent, so it's unfortunate that it has fallen a little lower. It's only kind of middling at best, but again, perhaps kids might get a little more out of it, so it might be something we might look into for Gwen, and maybe she'll have different opinions from us adults who can't see past the faults. Valkyrie Anatomia, The Origin, was reviewed by Patrick Gann for us, and it fell pretty flat as well, unfortunately. I mean, it's really cool having another Valkyrie traditional RPG and having it on the go is wonderful, but it just sounds like it really didn't hold up, and it's kind of just another gacha that, gacha. It's finally here, folks. The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3. RPG fan editor's choice from Caitlin Argyros. She's been waiting for this game for so very long and seems quite thrilled to finally have Falcom's latest offering brought overseas finally, and she got that review out for us in a very timely manner, and it looks fantastic. Another quick turnaround as well was Jonathan Logan All Over the Outer Worlds, another RPG fan editor's choice with this one as well. We've got some freaking amazing RPGs coming out these days, folks, so definitely go check out the website and see all the written reviews on those, and look forward to some other stuff coming from us, like this one, Fire Emblem 3 Houses. We got a video review up. If you wanted to see a little bit more from the game while the review is going on, go check out our video review. And as always, check out the rest of our channel and like and subscribe and see what else we've got on offer coming to you. And that's it. Just a few reviews, and now on to the episode proper. Hello, fans of RPGs, also known as RPG fans. No, wait, we're RPG fan. Hi, I'm Greg Delmage. I'm your host today on Random Encounter, your regularly scheduled podcast about whatever games we feel like playing and talking about, and news and whatever shenanigans, as you have been experiencing over the past few weeks or months, whatever. Anyways, today I am joined by Nathan Lee once more. It's just a two-hander with him and I. Nathan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. It's been a good couple of weeks of just kind of getting life back together after my wedding. It's been 2 months, but our house is still reeling from all of it and getting things away that we don't need anymore, because who needs wedding decorations again? And stuff like that. So there's been a lot, and then I've had plenty of auditions, which is great. I just booked on something, so that's exciting. So I'll be filming that next month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's one day on a pilot episode of something, which is cool, because if it gets picked up, then there's always opportunity for my character to come back around, so we'll see what happens. How about yourself? How you been?
Doing alright. Trying to get through all these new RPGs that are coming out.
We do have plans for sure, and today is also election day here in Canada for municipal election, right? We're voting for our MPs.
Oh, well, it's federal election, so we just
Sorry,
picking out.
federal. Thank you. Municipal, right? Sorry. Today's our federal election as well, as we're all voting for our MPs. So that's been a fun start of the day as well. I went out early this morning at around 8:30 a.m. here in BC to get that done before the podcast. And Nathan also ran out earlier to get that done as well. So we have both voted. We've done our civic duties.
Yep, that was
Awesome exercising, you're right.
Yep.
So at any rate, aside from politics and everything else, which nobody probably really wants to ever hear about, we're here to talk about some video games. We've actually had a few new releases come out. One of those is Little Town Hero, which dropped, was it last week?
Yeah, last was it Wednesday or Thursday? I can't remember.
Something like that, yeah, exactly. Little Town Hero is the latest game from GameFreak, where they're kind of deviating out from the Pokemon franchise, which is awesome. And we've had some cautious optimism about it. And Nathan, you've been playing it for review. How's it stacking up?
It's kind of a weird one to really describe because I think a lot of people remember Low Town Hero from what we saw of it the first time around, which looked a lot more RPG-like than what it ended up turning out to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Little Town Hero is... I want to describe it more as a card game than an RPG. Like, I'm like about 10 or so hours into the game, and I haven't found anything like that's remotely like an RPG, so I'm not quite sure where the RPG description came from. I feel like they just kept that moniker from when it was first announced, and they just carried it over, even though the genre seems to have changed.
And how, like, is there not even really any RPG light kind of elements, like, or there's just no growth to it, like, or is it just purely action adventure with card gaming elements and then no real, I guess, class or equipment or experience gaining or anything?
No, there's no experience gained. There's no real progression with your character. After you win a battle, you get what are called like Eureka points. So you can use your Eureka points to upgrade like an attack or defense of your cards. But that's about the only thing that's different.
Oh, interesting. So that's very light on the RPG elements.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think if it's anything that's remotely like it, because you can't really upgrade your health. You can't really upgrade much of anything. Like, you can upgrade your cards to give them different effects, and that's about it.
I mean, that still seems rather neat, but it's not quite what we would have expected from like a full-blown RPG experience that we thought we might be getting from them. And to say nothing about the quality of the game all the same, is it still fun even to play as a card game and not quite a full RPG?
It is, in its own kind of unique way. Like, I haven't played card games that much in general, so I haven't played a game like this before. I have no idea of like how similar it is to like something like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone or something like that. But it's fun in its own unique way. But I don't know if I would have like spent money on it if I'd known like what I was getting into. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a good thing I'm getting it for review.
And I guess most of that is just because you're not super into the card gaming format.
That and it's not like the gameplay itself is fun, but everything else is kind of messy. Like the game's performance is really bad. Like it lags. Like I remember I was walking out of like the town mine, and just walking across the bridge, right, just to get back to like a farm, and it was like going at like 5 frames per second. It was really really bad. So
Well, that's weird. That's lousy to have it so poorly optimized for the Switch. I mean, the Switch isn't exactly the powerhouse that, say, like, you know, some of the latest consoles are, like the Xbox One S or the PS4 Pro kind of thing, but it's still, it can chug along pretty well. But dropping down to 5 frames per second sounds like really poor optimization on the part of Game Freak.
yeah, I know Game Freak did say that they were having trouble with the Switch, and I think that's pretty evident in this game. So I'm hoping a Sword and Shield doesn't have the same issues.
Yeah, no kidding. That doesn't bode well for that, although at the same time they're probably pouring their entire A-team into Sword and Shield, so it's unlikely they'll have the same issues. Now, this isn't... now, there is a chance, I guess, that down the road they could patch things, though.
Yeah, they could patch it out, but I don't know how much effort Game Freak would put into patching it. I guess we'll have to wait and see. As for anything else about the game, like, I'm not a big fan of the cast. Like, the main character Axe, he's kind of like a troublemaker, and he doesn't seem to really care much about like the people around him that much.
That's unfortunate, since it's all supposed to be about him helping everybody.
Yeah, it feels like he's just doing it really just to like because he wants to accomplish his own goal of being a soldier, not because he actually wants to help people. Maybe there's always a chance he could change down the road. So I'm hoping he does. But even his friends that he goes along with, they're just like not very interesting. And maybe it's just me coming off of Fire Emblem Three Houses, and where I'll love the cast of that game, but then I come into this one and it's meh.
Yep, that's fair. I've been playing Fire Emblem Three Houses a bit now too, and I've been doing Black Eagles as well. There's even as little into the game as I am. I think I'm in the second or third month. And everyone's very endearing, and you feel attached to them and getting to know them right out the gate. So to swap over to a game where there's not a lot of character growth or development, I guess, would be really shocking, I guess, in terms of like what you're used to.
Yeah, it's the characters themselves aren't even, like I said, they're just there, really. I don't know, just there for giving someone to talk to, and just some rival character that you fight like twice a chapter.
Okay, that's interesting that they brought the rivals into this, though, to kind of maintain something, I guess, maybe from Pokemon. I'm not sure if that's at all what they intended, but it's kind of funny that you have a rival.
Yeah.
A rival to defend the town. Like, we both are going to defend it real good.
Yeah, pretty much, except that he can't stand you being better than him, so he just challenges you. I just did this one chapter where like we just fought each other, right? Then I just walk over to the farm or whatever to accomplish something, or just say I just had to talk to someone. Then I walk back to them, and he's just like, "I want to fight you again." I'm just like, "We just fought each other like 5 minutes ago. You want to fight me again?"
Rude.
No, you think he would have given up at this point, but I guess the guy's just determined to try and beat you.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, one thing I did want to ask, coming from the perspective of being a parent, is it possible that this would be more geared towards, like, my daughter, for example, might find a better experience with this, given how simplistic a lot of the gameplay and the development is of the gameplay mechanics, and maybe the character progression? Is it maybe more in line for a younger audience as opposed to yourself or myself?
When it comes down to the gameplay, I'd say that it requires like you to really think about the cards that you end up using, because they all have different effects, and enemy cards have effects too. So it's something you have to like constantly think about in your mind as you go through the battles. Is like, should I use this card here or this card here? So it's something, and you don't have infinite cards, right? So the only way for you to get your cards back is to spend points like you get for destroying all the enemy cards in one turn, or you have to take a hit, and you only have 3 hits. So once you get hit twice, that's all your refreshes you can do for your deck. It's only like 10, 15 cards, I think, for your deck. So it's a constant like thinking game. You guys have to think about what stuff you have to do.
Oh, that's interesting. So so you only get, so in battle, I guess go more into that. So you get 3 hits, and then you have your cards kind of basically as you are playing to attack and take hits and whatnot. And then once those 3 hits are out, just the battle's failed, and then you're game over, or do you get to retry it again, or how does that work?
Okay, I lost my very first battle, which is the tutorial battle. So that was fun. I lost my tutorial battle, but I think you just restart. I think you restart, because I'm not sure, because there's a tutorial battle, so they might have just been like, you can just restart. So I'm honestly not sure, but that's the battle that really taught me like how to like really go about, like, because each card has their own attack and defense values you can use. Each card is like attack card, defense card, and support card. So defense cards you can use like whenever you want, as long as they have enough defense points to take a hit. Attack cards you only use once, and support cards you can use like as many times as you want, as long as you have enough points to use them. This is a point system, so in order to actually make the card, actually be able to play the card, you have to use points. You get them by like basically going through the battle itself by breaking all the other opponent's cards, and you spend the points to basically be able to use the cards, because sometimes you can't use the card right away because you don't have enough points to do it. So it all depends on how many points you have. Right.
Okay. And then story-wise, like you said, the characters are kind of but is at least the story intriguing enough to kind of warrant you to play along? Or is it very simple and like, a kid would get something out of this, but for myself, it's kind of flimsy?
Yeah, so the story itself is basically what happens is he wants to be a soldier because he wants to go out and explore the world as an adventurer or whatever. But turns out that monsters are invading town and no one knows why. So he ends up just becoming like almost like a soldier in his own town. So I guess that's where the name comes from. Because instead of going on a grand adventure, it's you having to defend town from monsters.
Right, and it kind of looked like it was almost kind of tower defense-y. Like, is that how it plays out with the monsters invading, and you kind of have to maneuver around the town, or how does that play out?
Each fight is 1-on-1, so you only fight one monster at a time. At least as far as like I've played, you only fight one monster at a time. I don't see how you can fight two at a time. It'd be really weird mechanic wise. So every boss fight so far has just been 1-on-1, and the boss fights can take a while. Like I usually spend like half an hour on a boss fight because each turn will take like it takes me like it took the last boss like 20 turns, 25 turns to beat it. And each turn, takes like a minute and a half.
Well, then to get into battles, though, how does that work out? Like, because if you're not adventuring out and seeing enemies and encountering them, since they're coming to you, or is there basically just like story beats, and then all of a sudden someone's like, "There's a monster," and then you go to it? Like, is it all written into the story, or is there any kind of random aspect to it?
No, it's all just relevant to the story. There's no random battles. There's no like encounters in town. It's just go to this part of the story, and then maybe a monster will appear, maybe not, or maybe have to do a fight. Who knows? So one fight, so like I said, with that rival character, you can fight him, and then you go to the next area. So the sheep are out of control, so you have to fight the sheep, and then then the sheep turns into a gigantic monster. Then you have to fight that. That's the boss fight for the chapter.
Okay, interesting. So it plays mostly like I guess it's kind of like an adventure game then. You're just kind of going through the story beats and doing the encounters as they come, and there's a bit of a, I guess, you get to battle and stuff like that, but it is mostly about just kind of progressing through the story, less about exploring and the adventure of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be, I guess, different from what it seemed like it could have been, which is a shame, because if it is getting this kind of a lukewarm reception, it's possible there won't be any further development into this world and everything, as charming as it looks. But
yeah, it's I don't know. It's like I don't know. I don't know what to think about this game. This is gonna be an interesting review when I've read it.
So you said you're about 10 hours in. Do you feel like you're nearing the end?
No, I don't know how many chapters are in this game, but one chapter was it near chapter 3, I think, maybe the end of chapter 3. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to know when a monster will pop up and be like, "Hey, this is the boss battle for this chapter." Because especially with that sheep, I just fought 3 sheep, and I was like, okay. So the 4 sheep, but the 4 sheep turned into a monster. So I was like, okay, I guess this is my boss fight.
That's bizarre. It actually kind of sounds a bit like playing Little Dragon's Cafe back when I did that on the PS4, where you're kind of, again, just mostly playing through the story for the sake of the story. Like, for all intents and purposes, you could be reading a book that you can kind of interact with, and it's mostly about just collecting ingredients to build up your cafe's recipe list to get more guests and customers in, which will basically build your cafe up to the next point where it's like, cool, you've hit this checkpoint, now you can move on to the next beat in the story, and so on and so forth until the entire chapter resolves itself, and then there's a new secondary character that kind of gets introduced, and you follow their story again. And there's no real exploration or deviation outside of that, or encountering people sooner rather than later. Like, it's just as the story progresses and as you go at your own pace or accelerate through it, like, it's really up to you how fast you get through the different beats in the story. And I guess this is kind of the same.
That's actually a pretty good comparison, because I played Little Dragon's Cafe myself, and it's pretty much the same thing, except there's obviously a lot less exploring because this town is so small.
Yeah, that's one thing that's kind of nice about Little Dragon's Cafe, is that you have a lot to explore in the island itself. But once you've explored it all, you've explored it all, and there's really not a lot of hidden secrets or anything to it until your dragon gets bigger and you can fly around. It's still pretty simple, but again, for kids, it's a really wonderful, simple, digestible exploration experience. It's not like, a big, epic, ginormous world like Fallout or Dragon Age Dragon Age Inquisition or anything like that. So it's a lot simpler for them to get into, whereas for us, it seems pretty watered down by comparison.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But still, I don't know. I'm interested to see your review. Like, it's not exactly being shut down from what I've seen through reviews by most people, but it isn't also a glimmering gem that's kind of been the second coming of the company, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what you'll have to say about it once you get it out, hopefully sooner rather than later, and then make our own decisions as to whether it's a good one for Gwen to pick up or not. She seemed intrigued by it when she saw the trailer for it at E3, but she hasn't really talked about it much. But Gwen's also of a generation where, rather than playing video games all the time, she's mostly addicted to just watching YouTube on her iPad. It is what it is.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it's like, we try to encourage her to do other things, even other things on screens. Be like, you can play Minecraft on the new computer. You can you haven't played Little Dragon's Cafe in ages. And she always is like, oh yeah, I really like that. But for her, it's just so easy just to shut herself in her room and like sit on her iPad for an hour or something like that. And we're just like, come out and be with us. And to a point, we want to be parents that are just like, no, you can't. It's a hard line to draw with trying to limit that sort of stuff, but also let them have the freedom to choose and do what they want to do as well. And it's a fine line to go through, but as long as she's got homework done and she's socializing regularly enough, like if she spends an hour or two just like putting around on YouTube, and oftentimes she'll like draw or something on the side. But it's just bizarre to me. I'm like, we have like every console in the house, and maybe it's just choice paralysis, and she's overwhelmed by having everything available, as opposed to like me growing up as a kid. I didn't have anything except like a Nintendo, so when I went to my friend's house, it's like, oh my gosh, you got a Super Nintendo? I'm gonna play that a bunch with you now, or let's play X-Wing on the PC together, and everything that I didn't have, I basically vicariously lived through them when I got to go over to their house and play with them and then would come home. So maybe that was just the difference, whereas Gwen has access to everything as it is, so she just kind of takes it for granted.
Yeah, I feel like that, because I grew up the same way as you, where I only had one console at a time because that's all my family could afford. So, I only had the one thing to focus on. So, I spent all my time playing that one console.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Did you ever play Miitopia on the DS?
I did. I actually reviewed it for RPG Fan.
Now, Gwen absolutely loves and adores Miitopia, and that's something she does often go back to. Like, it's one of the few games she actually likes grinding at, too, and everything, because she's completely finished it and is in the end game now, where you can just kind of grind and take on whatever random quests, I think, get thrown at you from what she's described to me.
Yeah.
How does Little Town Hero kind of stack up to, like, playing Miitopia? Is it kind of in the same vein for difficulty-wise and story-wise and such?
Miitopia is a lot easier in comparison to Little Town Hero.
Oh, interesting.
And even though Miitopia's casts are all Miis, I like the Miitopia cast better.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, although when they're all just like randomly generated little things. But I guess they're also randomly generated to be silly and funny, so I guess that would make them possibly more intriguing than a cast written a specific way.
Yeah, like I said, this cast of characters in Little Town Hero is just like, I don't care about them at all.
Well, that's unfortunate, but like I said, I am looking forward to seeing what you have to say about it. For myself, I finally did get to finish out Monster Hunter World Iceborne. I've been playing that basically many hours a day for the past 2-3 weeks to try and get it done and catch up, since I was behind on embargo and everything and its release due to my wedding and everything, and it was a much bigger expansion than I was expecting it to be. So it's been great. Yeah, I got my review up and ready. We're just going to go through proofing and all that stuff, but it was good. It's basically a sequel, which is really neat. And I mean, I talked with Mark a bit about it last time, since he was more familiar with it than Joe on the last episode. Mm-hmm. But it's a solid game, and I definitely recommend it to Monster Hunter fans. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much because my review will be coming out soon enough. But now that I've finished it, it was worth finishing. I just wouldn't do it all in one go that intensely, perhaps. I probably would have side quested a lot more and grinded for some more gear and stuff, but I kind of smashed my head against the wall a few times just trying to get through the main story missions so I could get through the story for review purposes.
Yeah.
But it was neat, and it was nice.
Have you played the other Monster Hunter games, just out of curiosity?
No, this is actually the first one. Monster Hunter World was my first experience with it. I played... what was it? There was one on the DS, like Generations 4 or something. I don't know. There was one on the 3DS, like Generations 4 or something. I can't remember what it was. And I tried the demo of it and kind of bounced off it. It just seemed a little obtuse to me, and I guess the minutiae of it kind of glossed over me, and I just didn't really know what was going on in the demo. It seemed like the kind of thing that, while the demo was cool, it seemed more geared towards people who already knew what was going on in the series. So Monster Hunter World did a really good job of kind of hand-holding me into it, just enough that I still felt, like it wasn't just everything tutorial, here's how to do all this stuff easy, but at the same time, it offered enough of an ease into this complex mechanics and, I guess, gear building system that is Monster Hunter, that I really took to Monster Hunter World. It's just light on narrative, so when I got to a point where I was like, I want more story, I kind of bounced off it for a bit to try some other stuff that actually had more engaging story and stuff like that.
True. But that is one of the things about Monster Hunter. It's never really had an engaging story. It's always been about, you always brought into town for whatever reason. This town has monster problems, so you just go in there and fight things, and then some kind of weird mystery pops up, and then that's basically your story.
Yeah, and it's the same in Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Everything just kind of serves, even if there is a big, weird, bizarre mystery as to why monsters are behaving this certain way, it's all geared up towards why you want to hunt the next thing.
Yeah. That's just generally what Monster Hunter stories are all about.
You sound like you've played them in the past.
Yeah, so I've played, well, I missed all the ones on PSP, which is when I think a lot of Monster Hunter fans will say the glory days were. So I played the original on PS2, and then once it came out on Wii, Monster Hunter Tri on Wii, and then I've played every Monster Hunter since then.
And so you've played World then as well?
I did play Worlds. I didn't enjoy it that much. Like I think I named it my most disappointing game of 2017 or 18, whenever it came out.
Really, why is that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old man when it comes to Monster Hunter, but I just could not get into World. Like its mechanics were too different to me. It just seemed like
I didn't realize it was that night and day.
Yeah, it just seemed too hand-holdy to me because I'm just used to Monster Hunter games being like, hey, just throw you guys into the combats and you just learn everything else on the fly. And then Monster Hunter World kind of comes in and tells you, hey, this is how you're supposed to do things, and this is the way how to properly hunt monsters. And maybe it's just the thing with the part of the fun with Monster Hunter was actually going out to hunt the monsters, because in this game you use glowflies and they basically tell you, hey, here's the one monster, and you just chase it around the map.
Yeah, I kind of wish the tracking system was less obvious. I mean, the scout flies are cool, and then there's, again, when I was just trying to get through it in a timely fashion, it was nice to have here's the next thing, here's the next thing, here's the next thing, clipping me through it all. But I had times where I wished where I was really trying to get down into the dirt to really look for tracks, because there's sometimes where you caught them just when you weren't targeting the monster and you're like, oh neat, tracks, but they kind of give everything away. So scout flies is a thing that's exclusive to World?
Yeah, so scout flies weren't in the previous games, because no one to really track down monsters. You had to basically go around the whole map. When you first encounter a monster, you go around the whole map, see where they are, and then you have to, in order to track them, you have to throw paintballs. And paintballs are pretty sure they're in World as well. But the people paintballs are basically useless in World because you have the glowflies anyway. So, but that's how you use to go around and track monsters. You throw paintballs, then you see on the map okay, the monster's over here. Then if you don't throw paintballs, you have to go find it again. So that's the kind of Monster Hunter I enjoy.
Huh. That sounds completely different. And I think that aspect of it, I really wish Monster Hunter World had more of that. But as far as it kind of instructing you in good ways to approach your fight, that I appreciated, because the one thing it does do, even if it does give you those tips and everything about how to best fight monsters and such like that, it doesn't really teach you how to use any of the weapons. That's kind of up for you to figure out how to do the different combos and how to best execute your use of your chosen weapon. So I leaned into because I think the insect glaive is new for Monster Hunter World.
It was in 4 or Generations.
Oh, okay.
The one that's new, I think, is the wait, which one is it? Never mind. I forgot which one it is.
I think it's one of the crossbows or something like that, maybe.
Might be if there's a crossbow. So the hunting bow. The hunting bow is new. No, that was in 4 Generations. No, sorry, I can't remember which.
I know the gun lance, I think, is new.
That was in PSP game.
Oh, never mind. I am lying then. I can't remember which one was new either. I thought it was the insect glaive, but I guess not. But either way, that's what I took to first and started getting used to, and definitely started off not being great at it, but now I got to the point where I can juggle myself and do a lot of aerial combos and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's really satisfying once you start to get it. And it's the same with learning how to use the hammer as well. At first I just didn't quite get it, but then I knew how to best position monsters where I needed them to start whacking them better and doing the sliding down hills and flip into them to deal out more and more damage. So in that way, it still lets you kind of figure things out.
Yeah, Monster Hunter games have always been about trying out different weapons and seeing what sticks with you, and then kind of specializing with that particular class of weapon. It's always been the one thing that I really liked. You can always just find a weapon that works best for you, right?
Well, and that's exactly it. There's been a few other tried out. I tried the longsword, which is a classic standby, for example, and it just didn't quite jive with me as much, maybe not as much maneuverability. And, this is me coming from someone with the hammer, but I found the hammer combos a lot easier for some reason. At any rate, it's a good game from what I see, and whether I'll try other Monster Hunters, I don't know, especially since, again, there's so much still coming out for this. Like, they gave us so much free stuff, and then this big expansion, and then they're only going to give us more free stuff to have more hunts and more things added to the Guiding Lands, which is the end game for this, is neat. Because that's one thing I didn't really talk about, is the Guiding Lands comes after you beat the game, and it's basically just a floating island kind of thing that has all the different regions from Monster Hunter Worlds in it, so you can counter all the monsters in those different areas, and it levels up as you hunt the different monsters in their area. So, like, if you're hunting monsters in the Ancient Forest section, the Ancient Forest section will have its level increase, so the monsters will get harder, and like the more rare monsters or tempered monsters might show up, so that'll give you access to more rare materials. And it has gathering points from all the different areas, of course, as well, and you can get more rare drops from the gathering points that you can't get in the actual locations. You can only get these in the Guiding Lands, so it's great to really up that endgame content and just to give you a fun place to explore. And also introduces Zinogre, which you're probably familiar with from previous games. So it's a neat place to give players a lot more to play around with and do with. And then, of course, with introducing new monsters as they go, it's going to have another good year and a half of life left in this game.
Yeah,
at least.
The Monster Hunter World sounds like they're really like diving into really supporting the game, which is great because like previously Monster Hunter games got very little post game content. Or, like once the game came out, it's not post game. Like it's just I should say like DLC after the game came out. It's usually like, oh, here's a new armor set, or here's a new like weapon, just different weapons, and maybe like the odd monster or two. But with the world that they're really diving into it, which is great for people who love the game already.
Yeah, it's been great. And once I have a bit of a break, because I'm a little monster hunted out from the grind of getting through it, I do want to go back and explore some more of the side stuff through expeditions and such, and explore more of one of the side things, which is the Linean Research, where you can kind of track down the local Linean tribes and kind of play Pokemon Snap with the Surveyor set of finding the Lineans in specific situations, and you take photos of them and he reviews it, and it was a fun little change from the usual of hunting, but with that little edge of just like anytime I could be photographing stuff, a monster might come and stomp me, so I need to make sure I'm aware. So I'm excited to explore that a bit more as well, and see what kind of rare stuff I can get from paw swapping with the tribes too, as you get to know them better. So there's a lot more to do, and I do want to get into it. I just focused mostly on getting through story content, and I do want to farm that final boss because the armor the final monster gives you is red, so I need to go back for that battle as well, but it's tough.
Fashion Hunter. Classic.
Right, well, and it's also got some good skills too, but I went with Namiel, which is a monster introduced later in the game, and it basically gives you this armor that makes you basically look like a Splatoon Inkling, like on steroids. It's rad. It's all like rubbery and tentacly and really cool, and it had some cool abilities as well. So I ended up being able to farm that fairly well to kind of get through the end game with.
Yeah, that's the thing about Monster Hunters. You always like forget the skills and everything like that. It's always about how cool you look.
Well, that's one thing that's cool too about this one is the added layered armor, although I haven't explored it much and seen what else you can do. But they do have a function where you can basically layer something over top of the current gear you have. I'm not sure if they're going to do that with all the armor sets. So if you wanted to make like your Baroth armor look like Puke armor, I don't know if that's a thing. But essentially you're supposed to be able to wear this layered armor over top of your current armor just for cosmetic purposes. And it doesn't affect the skills or stats or anything like that. So that's something that could be neat down the road. So then you could basically build a hodgepodge of a bunch of different sets that may look weird together, but then be like, I'm going to cosmetic it by wearing this layered armor set, and now I look like I'm wearing a suit and a top hat, and it's all good.
That sounds like cool.
Yeah, it's a neat thing to include for, the fashion hunters. But as far as that goes, my review should be coming up for it soon, and look forward to it because, it was a great experience. And I am quite positive on it. You have another review that you're doing as well of another game that came out it came out many years ago, and now the new version, No Kuni Remastered. Did it drop already? I can't remember the date.
Now, that was like a month ago now?
It was a month ago. Okay, yeah. So No Kuni Remastered came out, and obviously I've heard from a lot of people on staff that it was fun for what it was, but not quite worth revisiting it, but you decided to dive back into it. So why is that?
I feel like I'm in the minority among RPG fan stuff, where I feel like the people who talk about Ni no Kuni just don't like it at all, and I always look at those conversations and think, like, I actually kind of like this game, like, a lot, and I don't know, like...
And I think I might be one of those, because I'm one of the people who's like, even though everyone tells me not to, I still really want to go back to it, so maybe you might sell me on it.
Okay, so Ni no Kuni Remastered is, like... I don't know if, like, if you already didn't like the game, I don't think this game will probably, like, convince you to buy it, like, Frig again if you didn't like it, but if you did like it the first time, it's always fun to go back into this world. This is a great, like, I'm going to use this word a lot in my review. It's kind of like the kind of like whimsical feeling that you get when you play this game. It's like, it's a really, like, well-designed world that's just visually appealing to the eye. It's just, like, a lot of fun just to spend time in it. And, like, I don't know, it's just a charming game. Like, I feel like a game that just kind of brings you back to your childhood. And you remember, it has that old, like, kind of, like, cartoon or anime aesthetic to it. So, and then, I think a lot of people complain about the gameplay of Ni no Kuni because it feels weird to play an action game, but it's also kind of turn-based, and then the AI is also not very good. So
I think, yeah, that's the biggest complaint against it is, despite the charm and the Studio Ghibli involvement of it all, and the story is engaging enough, the gameplay is what bogs it down. And yeah, the AI with these spirits or whatever it is that you have on your team or something.
And well, it's your the familiars, and then it's your companions who constantly, like, especially Esther, her AI for whatever reason just constantly forces you to. Well, she just constantly spams healing spells even if you only lost like 15% of your health. So I think that's one of the complaints of the game is.
So essentially, this is just a polished version. Of course, obviously, there's nothing major changed. Was there any DLC released that was included in this version, or?
So there's new quests for like some gold familiars. I think it's just like you know, like kind of like one-off things. There isn't anything like that adds any significant story parts to it. So for the most part, this is generally the same game that they released years ago, with that little bit of DLC that they had.
Okay. And yeah, it sounds like, yeah, it's not going to sell anybody on it if they weren't already enjoying it the first time around. It's not one of those, like, I must have this again. Like, for example, Caitlin buying Final Fantasy XII like 7 times.
But yeah, well, Final Fantasy XII was different because it was the international version, which we never got.
Well, yeah, of course, and I'm being silly. There's definitely games out there that, I mean, I would want to rebuy all of the Final Fantasies if I could justify it to myself, for example. I just haven't because my PlayStation still works just fine, and I'm not too hard up on myself for loading times or what the graphics were.
Then there's me. I bought Tokyo Mirage Sessions 5 times.
Right, exactly. And you are also chomping at the bit for Rune Factory 4 to come out again too, right?
Yeah. That's another game about multiple copies of.
And that's exactly it. I mean, I might actually be tempted if for some reason they decided to remaster Rune Factory Frontier, just because the bit more polished that game is really actually quite lovely. At any rate, we could go into things we would want to buy and rebuy over and over again ad infinitum, no doubt, because that's basically what we're living in right now, is a big period of time with so many remakes that getting fresh stuff out, it's not exactly rare because we're still getting tons of brand new things as well, but the remaster thing is a big cash cow that most companies seem to want to cash in on. And you think Ni no Kuni is going to, I guess, basically sell itself to the people who liked it, and that's about it?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I'm sure, like, for the first, anyone who hasn't played it for the first time might be interested.
Yeah, because I don't have a PS3, so this might be something that attracts me now that it's available again on something that I have.
Yeah, especially for Switch owners, if they, like, for some reason, like, you only own Nintendo consoles in your life and you never had the chance to play Ni no Kuni, you should definitely pick this one up for Switch.
Oh, I didn't realize it was also being ported over to the Switch. That's right. Yeah, I did see it in there. That is pretty cool.
So it's a Switch port of the PS3 game. It's not the remastered version, so it's the original, like, was it 720p, like 30 FPS. whereas the PS4 and PC versions are 1080p, 60 FPS.
Oh, okay, that's less exciting. But still, the fact that you have it available on, you don't need a PS4 and it was something you wanted. Because that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted a PS3 back in the day was simply just for No Kuni. Even though we were already into the PS4 generation, I was like, I really want to get a PS3 just so I can play that and Journey.
It's just such a pretty game. I don't know how you can look at that and just not be interested in it.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, if anime is not your thing, then I can totally understand it. But if you're a fan of Ghibli and its art direction and style, like, this game, even for its charm alone, seems to be enough to try and draw you in. So it's probably something I'll pick up on sale at some point when I can justify it to myself. Just right now, there's too many other things to play. Speaking of which, one game that I went back to that I never actually finished was Wargroove on the Nintendo Switch. Was that one? Did you ever try out Wargroove or see anything about it back when we reviewed it and such?
I have it. I just haven't played much of it because I think it came out around the time. When was it? I just remember I was playing.
There was a big drop after it too.
Yeah, then something else came out, and then I think. But by the time I held off on it, there's another game that came out that I wanted to play more. So then just a constant stream of new stuff coming up that I wanted to play. So it kind of fell by the wayside. But when I played of it, I did enjoy because I was a big fan of Advance Wars. So it's good to kind of go back to that kind of era.
Exactly. It was Jonathan who reviewed it. I think it was Jonathan's first review at the site too, actually, or close to. Yeah, and it's interesting too. Its closeness to Advance Wars because that's another thing that drew me in as well because I love that series. And as I've been playing the game, you unlock art and direction and such from the concept art stages of the game and a lot of character art. And one of the things, the early build of the game was actually looking pretty much like a clone of Advance Wars. And then they changed up the entire theming to make it more fantasy, it looks like, as they went through development, and I guess to try and distance themselves from that. But the first like alpha screenshots and everything from it all look basically like it's Advance Wars. But that being said, I definitely recommend you get into it when you have a moment. It's very easy to kind of pick up and play because it's like Advance Wars. You can kind of just do a mission at a time, and if you don't want to just trek through and dive into mission after mission after mission, you don't have to, which is kind of cool. And can be played in kind of small doses, especially with being on the Switch, and you can play it on the go.
Yeah. I think probably part of my issue with now that all the games are on the Switch is that now there's so many games I could play on Switch that even a game like Wargroove, I'm just like, but there's other stuff I could do too.
Well, exactly. It's hard to keep up with, like if you've already kind of, if it's already bypassed you at this point, it's hard to kind of get yourself to go back when there's too many games to keep up with as it is, especially when you're working at the site and there's so many reviews to keep up on as well. There's constantly new stuff coming your way that you're just like, all right, cool, gonna do this first before I can kind of go back and play for leisure. But, when you're like in your 80s and retired and are thinking about it, be like, Greg said and Jonathan said that Wargroove was rad and I should just play this with my old friends here at the old folks home. Because they're just going to have Switches in there for the old folks to play, and you can get up there and play Just Dance and Mario Tennis and, play Wargroove against each other.
That's true. It has hot seat, doesn't it?
I think it does. I haven't tried it yet, but I think it does do hot seat for the multiplayer stuff. Plus, there's all the, like, you can make your own story modes and stuff like that too, make your own missions. Again, I want to get into, but I know if I do, I'll get sucked in, and then I won't do anything else. So I need to stay away, because I like creating things. It's problematic.
I kind of wish I was that creative, because whenever all these games come out, like Mario Maker or games like Wargroove, I'm just like, this is going to be a great game, except I'm not creative. So it has it's something that just won't stick with me.
And that's fair too. I mean, Trials HD, when that came out back when, like, my friend and I went down a rabbit hole of making a bunch of Trials courses and stuff too, and making them very intricate, and it sucked up a lot of time. Or like Forza, the amount of time I put into like designing card designs, doing like the outside decals and stuff like that on them. Was pretty ridiculous. My favorite one I ever made still, I made a Hyundai Genesis, and I made a skin for it that was Wind Waker themed, so it had like the Wind Waker link on the side of it, and it was actually really rad and very popular. Got downloaded a bunch, because then you got in-game money for people downloading your stuff, so it kind of motivated me to do it.
Oh, okay, so there was like an incentive to like create something cool.
Yeah, it wasn't simply about just making it so your car looked cool. Like, you could actually, quote-unquote, sell the designs, which I thought was a neat aspect, and it definitely motivated a lot of high-end designers to do some crazy stuff out there. Like, there was some ridiculous designs that I don't understand how people made like full on like anime girls and video game scene reenactments and stuff like that. It's insane. My best friend Pat would pride himself. He would make cars that were like advertisement cars, like they were company cars that you would see driving around the city, but for like companies no one would ever want, kind of thing. Like he made like a Garnier Fructis car, for example, and like very like it was very. It was very true to the design of like the logo. Like he got all that banged down and then just did his own like graphic design for everything else. And him being a graphic designer by trade, it was something he was super into. But it's just when you're manipulating all of this in like an Xbox game, it was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think I made one for some local Ottawa company as well. Like we basically made like just dumb cars for designs for companies that probably no one outside of Canada knew. It was funny. At any rate, it was it's fun going down the rabbit hole of creating stuff, and yeah, I like it. I like flexing my creativity that way. I'm actually surprised Gwen hasn't started making stuff too, because that's one thing she likes as well about a lot of that. And she's been playing Wargroove, and she enjoys it as well. And yeah, I'm just surprised she hasn't come to me being like, I made a mission, do it! But maybe she hasn't explored that much, or even knows that that's an option yet, because she might just go right to single-player gameplay and just dive into the arcade or the campaign and such, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe it's, like I said, it's probably something she maybe just like probably just playing through the main story.
Yeah, and that seems to be kind of it. So it's basically what I'm kind of going back on and off to, but I have another review project coming up, so I'll probably be diving into that and then get back to Wargroove, because I think I'm near the end of the story, and like some of those missions, as John said, there's a big difficulty curve that kind of hits you at some time in the game, and I have a few missions where I've beat my head against the wall, just being like, "Why aren't I gonna get it?" I'm so close. And it has a whole puzzle side too, which is neat. And I've been exploring that a bit as well, where you have like a specific condition set to go through. But again, sometimes you're just like, "What am I missing? Which one soldier isn't doing the one thing to execute this in one turn?"
It just reminds me so much of Advance Wars. It's like there's always one mission in Advance Wars where it's like, why can't I beat this mission? I've done this like 10 times. I still keep losing.
And that's exactly it. And I'm sure it's the same in Fire Emblem as well. Like any strategy game, like you can invest so much time into the mission, and then like one thing happens. At least with Fire Emblem Three Houses, you get to roll back time if like that big crucial turning point was hit. But with stuff like this where you can't do that, you're like, cool, I just invested an hour in losing.
Yeah, that's part of the issue. Like, on one hand, I'm glad that Three Houses has that rewind feature, because I just did a battle a little while ago, like I want to say, like when I was playing the game again, and I probably lost a character like 3 times just trying to do lost 3 different characters, but then I had to keep re-rolling time. So I was glad I didn't have to redo the fight, but there's just like there's always that one thing where it's like for some reason like the RNG just doesn't go in your favor, and then it just messes you up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they landed a critical that you didn't or whatever. Yeah, it just can mess with you. My thought on Three Houses now, because, it's all these students, and it's really weird because I had one mission where actually I did lose somebody, but it's weird because they kind of phrase it when that person, when they passed away in the mission or whatever, just kind of like, oh, I'm done for now. Like, it made it seem like they would come back. Like, it was just...
So I get a feeling...
But, like, no, they were gone.
So, in I guess, you know about the game, right? Do I need to...
I still haven't gotten to... Like, I'm still, like I said, only 3 months in, and I haven't had a ton spoiled for me, but, like, I don't know, do it as spoiler-free as you're able to, whatever.
Okay, so, in the first half of the game, like, I don't know how much I can actually spoil, but in the first half of the game, no one actually dies, quote-unquote, like, no one actually dies.
Okay, so maybe they would have come back.
No, like, you still won't be able to use them, so they might as well have died, but no one in the story actually dies in the early game.
Oh, okay, so, like, they would come back later on, but just for the, like, is it just for the duration, or do they miss a few missions, or?
No, like, once you lose a character, like, in the first half of the game, you still can't use them ever again, but, they'll still be in, like, I'm assuming they're still wandering around the monastery, right?
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't explore it that much. When it happened, I reloaded, because I liked that character, and I was investing in them already, so I didn't want to lose them. And I didn't look into it, because that's what I was going to say. I was like, what happens if you're got all these students and like you let them all die, and then like, is the monastery just like vacant?
No, like I think I think what happens. Well, I don't want to. Actually, no. Let's not do that. I don't want to tell you that. That's spoilers.
Okay,
But
cool.
anyway.
Either way, that doesn't happen that way. Okay, that's good to know. And they're still around for story purposes, but then you won't be able to use them in late game either, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So once you lose a unit, you still lose them for the whole game.
It's just a question of how permanent it is for the story purposes.
Yeah.
If you lose them in the latter half of the game, then they're like dead, and then they don't invest it in. Then they're not invested in the story in any way, I guess.
Yeah, once you get to the second half of the story, once a character loses their HP, they actually die on the battlefield. So.
Okay, that's why they didn't make a big deal of it. Okay, I understand now. As far as other newer things go, we were talking about some farming stuff there with the No Kuni discussion, but Doraemon Story of Seasons came out last week, I think it was.
Last week or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago? It's been out for a little bit. But I decided to pick up the demo on the Switch. That is a very pretty game. I don't know anything about Doraemon, but it does have all the charm of it. Just in the demo, it starts you a bit later in where the farm's kind of already established, but they still introduce all the basic concepts to you. But all the characters, it sounds like they have all their... Like it's not fully voiced. Like they all just kind of have catchphrases in Japanese of just like, hi, good morning, yosh, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Whenever it frames with kind of what they're saying in the text bubble.
Okay, so it's kind of like I don't think any of like Harvest Moon or Root Factory game has like fully voiced. I think they're all it's just like just like a word or two.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same for this, even though they obviously have a lot to draw from with those voice actors and everything. But it's enough that it adds the charm of the show, and for people who are fans of Doraemon, that they'll get that little flavor from their characters, and it adds that kind of Saturday morning cartoon spunkiness to it. Mm-hmm. That the whole game just seems to kind of reek of. Like it's beautifully designed. Like it's kind of funny because I have the first Story of Seasons, and it's okay. It was a little rough. I never got to the second one or whatever because again it was just I still got a farming game that I still haven't completed. Like I don't need more farming games on the console of this handheld. But this one is such a leap from the first one, just in terms of design. Like the character models are great. The hand-drawn kind of backdrops are beautiful. Like I want to explore every single house in this village because it just reeks of like, it just reminds me of childhood, like watching cartoons that are well crafted, like just the wholesomeness, the softness of it, having, those days where you're just watching like a Ghibli film and just like how cozy all the houses are and like the design and all that too. Like they've just done such a great job of capturing that kind of 90s kind of cartoon feel into this game. And then with the added charm of these characters that people have known for generations, it seems like a really neat game. And the only thing that keeps me kind of like, not investing is just I don't know anything about Doraemon. So I was like, I kind of want this just to be Story of Seasons. It's not a crossover, so to speak, but at the same time, the crossover seems to work in the favor of the amount of effort and production value put into this game. So far the demo is neat. It's more farming. It's a lot of what you seem to expect, but you get like these added bizarre gadgets that come from the characters, like the Anywhere door. So you can have that on the farm and you can use that to travel anywhere in town, for example, and you'll get some other stuff that will like do insta-grow. So like the local farming community are like, what is this weird gadget that your magic cat just kind of made happen? So that kind of stuff adds a little bit of fun and charm to it. And yeah, it's lovely. And as far as I know, Derek Heemsbergen, formerly of this podcast, also worked on it, doing some localization, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Which is super cool.
Yeah, he posts on Twitter.
Yeah, it's super neat that he got involved in this. And again, so far, good job to Derek and the rest of the localization team. What I've been reading is very fun and well put together. And it's, so of its time and still so fresh as well. So it's all in all a really polished game. And I'm going to have a hard time not investing in it on the Switch because, there's other things. There's still Stardew Valley that I can get on the Switch as well. So it's just like, what kind of farming experience do I want? This one's definitely a lot more traditional, like Harvest Moon experience, where it's about the farming. You're not out battling monsters and this and that and the other thing. So it's just, I guess, what you want if you don't want to go that deep into the crafting and whatnot, and you just want a nice, simple, casual farming game. This looks like it might be the road to go. So I don't know. I might get into that. But again, I already have Story of Seasons in a portable on my 3DS. So it's like, do I need another one? I'm not certain yet.
Yeah, it's ever since like the story season and Harvest Moon split, I feel like the quality of like I guess quote unquote both series has kind of declined.
Yeah, like the latest Harvest Moon, the Lighthouse of Hope or whatever it was called. I can't remember what the heck it was, but it looked like a tacky mobile game.
Yeah, it just doesn't. They just don't look good anymore, and I don't know. Like, that's part of the reason why I stuck to, I guess, Rune Factory. Like since the split. Of course, Rune Factory I thought died back in 2014 when they made Rune Factory 4.
But they're refreshing it because 4 and 5 are coming out.
Yep. So happy with that happening.
And I can see that. But if Doraemon Story of Seasons is any indication of the team's direction, like it seems like maybe the A team is here now. And if they keep developing Story of Seasons with this kind of quality, then that'd be great. Like, I don't know if it's just because they have money from the production company that works on Doraemon, maybe that bolstered it a bit or what, or the art team from that came on board. I'm not certain. But it's a beautiful looking game and definitely has a lot more polish and a lot more, it's a lot better playable. It doesn't feel as like stiff, I guess, as the original one felt. So maybe this could be a second coming for this series as well. I don't know.
Yes, because that's part of the reason why I also didn't get into it, because I thought I don't know enough about Doraemon because I didn't know if I would be able to get into this one or not. But maybe I might give it a shot. Might as well just download the demo.
Yeah, exactly. Try the demo out and see if it's for you, and just wait for it to go on sale or not. Whatever, we'll see. And we also have a review coming of that at some point, so I'll be interested to see what's said about it. Anyways, with someone who's gotten the full experience starting from the tutorial at the beginning and working their way through it all, because it just kind of throws you in a bit with the option of tutorials, but it's still, you don't know anybody in the town where it seems like they all know you. That part threw me off just slightly, just because I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm midway through the game, so everyone knows me, but I'm still being introduced to basic mechanics. But I already know the mechanics because I've played this enough, so it was interesting. Coming out soon, we've got The Outer Worlds. A lot of reviews are coming out about it looking real sharp because embargo just lifted, or is lifting shortly. But it comes out on October 25th. I watched the latest launch trailer. It does look rad. Like, it's kind of like BioShock in space and more RPG-y elements kind of thing. And, I guess in the same vein as Borderlands and such as well. I don't know. Is it on your radar at all?
It's kind of on my radar. Like, I'm kind of... I don't want to say I've been turned off of Western RPGs, but it's been such a long time since I've played one. But I might dive in and give it a shot if I have spare time. It's the one by Obsidian, right?
Yeah, and of course, stand-up Western developer. But I can understand if you've been so immersed in the Eastern RPGs, it's a bit of a jump to go back to the Western world, so to speak.
Yeah, because I missed out on like all of like the most recent Bethesda stuff. So, like, and BioWare has just been, I don't want to talk about BioWare. So, like, basically, my kind of like attachment.
Pour one out.
This is kind of my attachment to the Western RPG world's kind of like just waned lately. So, but yeah, if I ever have a spare moment, I'll probably give it a shot.
Yeah, because it's looking real sharp, that's for sure. And then the other game that I'm excited it's coming out, though it's still a far ways off, and I still need to watch the series, is Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance Tactics. They just had a new trailer for that drop not too long ago that gives a little more into the characters from the show. Now that the show's out, they can show a bit more of that. And I'm guessing we're going to get a lot more revealed now that the show's been out, and they're not going to be too worried about spoiling things. But yeah, I still need to watch the series. I want to go back and rewatch the film with Annette and then go through the series, and then I'll probably be pretty hyped up for this. But I don't know. Well, that being said, the trailer, as much as it's looking really nice in a lot of ways for graphically how they've crafted the world, the tactics element they haven't gotten too far into, but it looks still a little stiff and stilted. So yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for Annette and I to be able to watch the movie again together, watch the show, and then get into it. And it's, the game looks like it's kind of shaping up nicely from this trailer. It looks a little stiff, but I guess we'll kind of see how things go as it goes along and how in depth it will get with the I guess the RPG elements of the tactical game. Because it definitely, on paper, looks like a strategy tactic game, but I'm going to guess that there's some class development and character growth and everything you can do in there as well. So we shall see as more details come out. I'm enthused for it. It's, like I said at E3, nothing I ever thought we would ever get. Didn't think there'd ever be a Dark Crystal game.
Yeah, no. When I saw it at E3, I was like, this is certainly like an odd one.
Because I don't think there was even ever like a Nintendo game or Super Nintendo game that came out around the time either that I can think of.
Was that the same vein? Not really. Like, this definitely looks like it's taking like a page out of Final Fantasy Tactics or like Disgaea or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And let me see here. Okay, so there was a Sierra game, an adventure game set in Dark Crystal way back when in 1983 on the Atari and the Apple II.
Man. Okay.
So
What
we,
was the game back then?
as far as I know, though, I don't think we've seen anything else since.
Not for Dark Crystal. I still don't remember hearing about it until that reveal trailer.
Yeah, and exactly it. Have you watched any of the series on Netflix at all?
No, I haven't actually.
It's Dark Crystal's right in there with the movies like The Secret of Nim or like Labyrinth, where they were kind of geared towards younger audiences, but they're terrifying.
So it's kind of like the weird, like this is meant for children, but it's also pretty scary.
Yeah, even like The Goonies was like, kind of riding that edge as well. So it's kind of interesting, these bizarre games of the 80s that, or not games, sorry, these bizarre shows of the 80s that rode that line between like terrifying kids, but also were kind of digestible shows for kids as well.
I guess my example is Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah, I can see that. Courage had some bizarre drug trippiness to it all.
Yeah.
At any rate, that more or less wraps things up from what I needed to talk about. Was there any exciting news that you're ready for?
Anything like that I'm waiting for?
Yeah, like any recent news that's come out that you're just like, that you're enthused about, or any games that are coming up that you're looking forward to?
What's out this month? Man, see, so how when I'm so like laser focused on my games, I don't even know what comes out this month. The one I guess they're just waiting right now for Sword and Shield, and if Factory 4 Special gets released this year, which I don't think it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Because I think they actually recently posted that there's like it's coming out this winter now. So I was thinking, well, the winter could mean January, February too.
Yeah, it's riding the line, that's for sure.
I hope it's not too close to Tokyo Mirage Sessions, because that game's gonna be my life for quite a while.
And that's dropping. Is that one of the ones that comes out like next March, like everything else?
No, Tokyo Mirage Sessions comes out January 16th, around there.
So happy New Year to Nathan.
Indeed.
Well, Nathan, thank you so much for making the time to come on the show today. It's fun having just a nice quick chat with you about quick hits through a few games that are out these days. And I look forward to reading your reviews on both those games when they drop. Hopefully your reviews, I'm going to guess, are coming out in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it should be out soon. Like, No Kuni one especially will be out within a week or so, I want to say. Then Little Town Hero, I can wait to see if that game gets any better, then I'll write my review.
That sounds good, though. And as always, everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you want to chat with us in any way, shape, or form, podcast@rpgfan.com is our email address. We are at rpgfancom on Twitter. Email me at gregd@rpgfan.com or find me at Greg Delmage on Twitter, Instagram, gdelme on our Discord channel. And Nathan, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at SmashKing27. And you can find me on our Discord channel. I'm SmashKing.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Go check out Retro Encounter. Also, go check out Phoenix Edge Podcast, our awesome partnership that we have with Hat and Eric, where they kind of talk about all the latest and greatest gaming stuff. They keep up better than I do because maybe they have a better budget for buying games. I don't know. They do them. But they've been really cool folks to have on the RPG fan team, and hopefully they'll be on a podcast with me as well sometime in the future. Until next time, folks, take care.